In this episode, we sit down with Marisol Cervantes, a talented artist and art instructor from my hometown. Marisol shares her journey from being an art student to becoming an instructor, her love for abstract art, and the personal stories that inspire her work. Discover how she balances her passion for art with her teaching responsibilities and the life lessons she's learned along the way.
I had to think about the bright side of things. Like, you worked so hard in your studio. You put all this time and energy, money, effort, mental, help was all over the place when you're working through. And I felt like I just had to be proud of myself. Like I had to just sit by myself, look at the wall for a little bit, just me and the work, and be like, you know what? You did what you had to do, and be proud of yourself, because I'm really proud of myself for where I started to where I'm at now.
Welcome back in to another episode of the Spark Moment podcast. I'm your host, Dev, writer, photographer, filmmaker. And today we have a special guest. She's an artist. She's an art instructor, Ms. Marisol Cervantes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marisol Cervantes. I am from DeKalb, Illinois. I am currently an NIU art instructor, and I'm also a full-time artist.
And one of the dopest artists that I know.
Thank you.
Personally.
You too. You too.
I appreciate that. Your art is crazy. I know we went to that art show that you had, and man, I was blown away.
Yeah, thank you. So I had a solo show pretty recently in the wintertime. It was around December, at Side Street Studio Arts in Elgin. And that was a big deal for me because it was one of my first solo shows out of school, because I had shows in grad school and in undergrad, but never, an official one just as an artist. So it was really cool.
Wow. So that was your first show?
Yeah. So that was like my first solo show out of school, but I had a solo show in grad school.
Okay.
But it was a big deal because usually, it takes a while to get a solo show depending on like the work that you're putting out, and then also the galleries and all that stuff. So it's a whole process, but it was really exciting.
I didn't know that. That's dope. And all of that work in there was yours too.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It took me forever. It took me a year to finish all those pieces. But also, you remember, like, those paintings were 48 by 60, so they're pretty big. So they're almost as big as me. So they were definitely, took me a long time to process them. But
they were big. They were dope. So we're gonna jump into this Spark Rapid Question segment here. So first question is, what's something people often misunderstand about you?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So I am extremely introverted, and it takes me a while to warm up to people. So I feel like sometimes I come off as standoffish, but I promise that I like to talk to people. I like being around people, but it's definitely something that a lot of people just kind of assume sometimes before actually getting to know me, is that I just give off the appeal that I do not want to be around people, but it's not true.
Yeah, I can see that, because I mean, we know each other since we were kids.
Right,
and,
right.
It was like, I always looked at you as like real quiet.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think it was until like older where you actually like came out of your shell a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think also it has to do with social anxiety. I feel like I had dealt with that my entire life. And it wasn't until I kind of grew into my voice that I was able to kind of be a little bit more eligible in terms of having good friendships and good conversations with people too.
Yeah. Do you get that a lot?
Yes.
Like, yeah. How? Because I mean,
time.
as an artist, and you're probably going to like a lot of shows or meeting a lot of people.
Right.
Is it well, I don't want to say like avoid you, but like, is it hard to kind of like network?
It is 100%. That is my biggest downfall as an artist, is pushing myself to get into galleries and to talk to people and just make connections. Sometimes it's easier for me to do it online rather than going up to somebody and being like, hi, this is who I am. But also too, I think that over time, I've gotten used to talking about myself, and then also just being interested generally in artists and individuals, no matter who they are. So I feel like also being a teacher has helped me come out of my shell even more.
And I want to get into that a little more too, instructor, because that's something I think is amazing. Like, you don't really hear a lot of artists becoming instructors, so I definitely want to hear that a lot later.
For sure.
And then we'll get into this next one. So if you weren't creating art, what do you think you would be doing?
That's a really good question too. Honestly, I think that I would be a musician.
Okay.
My dad was in a band when I was little, and I was always so amazed at all the instruments that they played. He specifically played the guitar and he sang. And he was really good, and his band was really good. But I grew up loving music. I still really love music. But I do think that if I had the opportunity to not be an artist, I would have 100% given my full energy and time, maybe not to singing, but to playing an instrument. I played some instruments when I was younger, like I played the harmonica, the clarinet. I tried getting into guitar, didn't work out that well just because I'm left-handed, and then also like my fingers are small, and it was just like a hard process to hold on to an instrument like that, you know.
Mhm.
But I think that I gave all of my attention to art, but I feel like in another life I would have definitely been in a band touring the world if we were good enough.
I can see that. What kind of
Yeah.
music did they play?
So honestly, they sang in Spanish, but it
Okay.
was kind of like soft rock.
Okay.
So they had a cool vibe to them. And they were getting kind of popular. They were like doing a lot of events, like smaller events. It wasn't like big concerts or anything, but they would play at birthday parties, quinceañeras, just like random events. But the issue was that I was about to be born when he was kind of like popping off with the band.
Okay.
So my mom was like, you know what? You're going to have to let this go for a little bit because we're about to have a kid again.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's tough. But I mean, I know he's definitely proud of, the woman that you
Oh,
became. I actually just found out like what Mexican soft rock was like last week. I've
you
never heard a song.
You know, when I was younger and I would like brag to people about my dad being a really cool musician, people would be like, oh, like mariachi bands. And I'm like, no, no, that music is beautiful. I love that music,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that. And I feel like there's like stereotypes sometimes around like Mexican music. And I feel like there's such a broad, array of types of
Yeah.
music. So,
Yeah. I was listening to it. Somebody put me onto it and I was like, oh, yeah, I could listen to this. It's like,
right,
it's
right,
not what I expected at all. And I was like, yeah, this is like studying or like just putting some music on in the background
for
or something,
sure.
just chilling. I'm like, yo, that's pretty dope.
Oh, yeah.
So, in all the art that you've made, have you ever created a painting that looked completely different from maybe what you intended at first?
That's a good question. I feel like that happens more often than I would like it to. But with abstract art too, I feel like a lot of times I prefer that
Yeah.
because sometimes I'll make a sketch and I'm like, this is the best sketch ever. I'm going to make it into a painting. And then I try doing that and then I get super mad because I'm like, it's not turning out how the sketch turned out. And it gets everywhere and I'm getting mad in my studio and I like get super irritated. But I feel like at the same time too, it's a little bit better when that happens. And it happens a lot, but I also think too, since I'm an abstract artist, it's something that I'm able to deal with and navigate throughout my studio practice too.
Yeah. I was gonna say being an abstract artist probably helps with that, huh?
Yes, 100%, 100%. Because even like, let's say something needed a specific shape or a color, and at first that's not what it needed to be. Who is to say that it wasn't supposed to be there to begin with? Because it's not a still life. It's not something that needs to be exact. So I get away
Mm.
with it many times because it's abstract.
Would you say it happens like every time, or like how many times have you really like had a look in your head and it kind of came out exactly like how you wanted it
That's a,
to?
honestly not a lot.
No.
Maybe a couple times. I feel like with some of those big paintings with that show that you went to,
Hmm.
a lot of those were planned and they came out exactly how I planned them to be.
Hmm.
But then more recently, since I've been changing my style up a little bit, I feel like I've been having some struggles with like, oh man, it's not really what I wanted it to be, but it's okay. I'll work through it. I kind of like to challenge myself too. Like I like to make myself suffer. As an artist, it kind of gives me like a motivation to be like, okay, I'm going to prove myself wrong in this aspect. So,
Yeah, that's nice. It's to push
yeah,
yourself as an artist. It's only gonna make you better.
for sure.
And speaking of that, so what is your most recent life lesson that you've learned?
That's a good question. I would probably have to say, uh, about a couple weeks ago, I unfortunately found out that a past student of mine had passed away.
Yeah,
And
sorry to
I
hear
thought
that.
that, yeah, thank you. That student was a really great drawer. They were amazing at art. I had bonded with them throughout the semester that I had them, and I haven't had them for a couple semesters, but I found that out and that like completely broke me. But I think also too, it made me realize that every single student, like to just take advantage of being a teacher and an instructor. um, and to because sometimes you get so caught up in your life and you're like, I'm teaching and I go home. But I
Mhm.
think it's super important too to get to know your students, which I do, but then sometimes too, you're just there to do your job, right? But I think it's super important as well to make sure that you're just being there for them no matter what, because you never know what tomorrow holds. So,
Yeah, that's true. That's very
yeah.
true. And I'm sure a lot of them look up to you too.
I hope, but even so, like I just love being in that environment because not only do I love art and what I do, but then also it's so cool to be around all these brains, that are growing and that they're adjusting to the art world.
Hmm.
And it's just super cool to see them grow. And definitely having a student pass made me realize like that every chair that is full in my classroom is super important to me no matter what.
Definitely, definitely. Man, that's heavy.
It was heavy, yeah. And
It's
you know
heavy.
what? The what was crazy too is that I had kept one of their final drawings because I was obsessed with it, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it back to you eventually, but just let me keep it for a little bit so I can show other students for inspiration. And she was
Hmm.
like, yeah, no worries. Like, just email me when you want it back, and I still have it. So I hung it up in the art building, and it's gonna permanently stay there, hopefully. But I hung it up there, and every time I pass by it, I think of her. But she really inspired me. Like, I was so amazed by her talent. So I'm happy her work is up there now in the art building, so I'm able to see it.
That's crazy. It's crazy. All right, Marisol. So
Yeah,
it's the moment we came for.
for sure.
What was your spark moment that led you to pursue your journey in art?
Yes. So I was an undergrad and I was already an art major, but I was a little confused on what my future was going to be in regards to art. So it wasn't until my senior year, my last semester, I had been in a painting class with a professor named Katie Kahn, and she was about to retire. It was her last semester, and I finally had gotten a class with her. And it was a studio class, but it was also more of like a critique class. So basically, what that meant was that we would work on our own art in our studios, and she would come by, and then we would also have class critique with the entire class. And then sometimes it would just be one on ones. And through the one on ones, she really helped me grow my art and my voice within art. And she was kind of prepping me for something, but I'm not really sure at that point what it was. And it wasn't until a little bit towards like the middle end of the semester, she was like, could really apply um, for grad school there at NIU. And then I was, like, I'm not really sure I'll get in. And she was like, you know what, just do it. Like your art is ready for it. And she was like, if anything, it will prepare you to be a professional artist, no matter whether you teach or not. But she really pushed me to do that. And I feel like if it wasn't for her in that moment, I don't know what I would be doing today. So she kind of prepped me for that. So I really think that that was like the moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this officially.
So it was a teacher pushing you to, well, basically
Yes.
follow in her steps. So I guess when you first started with art, like where did you want it to go with it?
Yeah. So I think that that's a really good question. I feel like in the back of my head, I was like, it would be so cool to just be a professional artist, like full time, like
Hmm.
just completely have a big studio and make work, and then just have like a side job or side gig that was making income, because a lot of times when people are doing art full time, you don't have a huge source of income unless you're selling your work and you're represented by galleries and the whole thing. So I think that in the back of my head, I knew that maybe I wasn't going to just jump in to be able to paint every single day and that's it, but I did want to continue being an artist. I also thought, okay, maybe I could do art education, major in that. So, meaning you take classes and prep basically to be an art educator, and you can get a license to do that. And I took a couple of those classes and I just wasn't comfortable with being an elementary, middle school, high school teacher. Like, I just didn't like the format. I wasn't really vibing with the class. I really felt like they didn't really care for abstract art either, like the instructors in that department at
Hmm.
that time. So I got out of that and then I just got back into just doing a regular art degree, which I'm super thankful for because I feel like if I would have just let go the idea of being an art educator, I wouldn't be here either.
So why abstract art? There's so many different
Yeah.
styles of art out there. What was it about abstract art that kind of pulled you in?
That's a good question. I feel like I have always been an overthinker. I'm always in my head. And
Same.
yeah, and I'm super interested in chaos and patterns and shapes and color. I really recognize, especially when I'm out in public and out and about, I recognize a lot of different types of things that maybe, realism does not offer you.
Hmm.
And I'm not interested in realism. I think that it's important to know how to do. And if anything, to learning how to draw properly and learning how to draw cubes, circles, vases, perspective, all that stuff, that has helped me become a better abstract artist. But I wasn't interested really ever in pursuing realism or surrealism or whatever the case may be. Like abstract is always like something that I really thought was perfect for my brain. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what is it? Where were like some of the inspirations you would find to draw in abstract art?
Like, where would I find them at?
Yeah, like do you usually like see something and then like your
Oh, I
brain
see.
kind of
Okay.
just, you know what I mean?
You know what? And that's where kind of music ties back into it again.
Okay.
I am always listening to music, and I feel like sometimes when I'm like laying down and listening to music, I can like envision like shapes moving like in the air. And like I'm thinking about colors and moments. I remember too when I was younger, I was always really interested in like clothing patterns and bed
Hmm.
sheets,
Hmm.
fabric curtains, like the shapes, different shapes, shower curtains. Every time my mom was like, "We're getting new shower curtains for the house," I would get so excited because I would look for like all the ones that have like different prints and like weird designs and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I was always super interested in looking at people's styles, like fashion, like looking at different types of like patterns of clothing, glasses, like all these things just always inspired me so much. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the art that I'm making today.
You know, I could see that. I can definitely see that just looking at your work and the it's like you always have like real flowy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
designs, and so I can definitely see that that kind of puts everything together now.
Mhm.
That's crazy. And then the colors you use too. I don't remember the one painting you had, but it was one that we just kept going to.
Was
Um
it the really large one in the back that you guys were standing by? I don't
yeah,
remember.
like towards like the right side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I think I took a picture of it. I think that was my favorite one. It was amazing. Well, they
Thank
all
you.
like they
Yeah.
were all good, but like that was
I
really
know they
good.
all had their different personalities, but it's fun to know which ones people gravitate towards.
Yeah. What do you think people gravitate towards that one?
That's a good question. Maybe it's the colors.
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes too people resonate with specific color palettes, and I think, and this is another thing too that I learned in school is that, and I tell this to my students now. It's kind of funny how somebody told me this, and now I preach it to my students about how sometimes how you dress and the colors that are in your home come into your art, and sometimes too I feel like the Midwest has a really like moody color scheme, like Illinois kind of has like this moody color scheme. And I feel like
Yeah.
that specific painting kind of carries that. So I feel like that's maybe why people were resonated maybe a little bit more with that one because of the color choices in that one, because they were a little bit moodier. Like the
Yeah.
other ones were super vibrant and like kind of yelling in your face.
Yeah.
And then that one was like the most like toned down one.
Yeah. You know, now that you said that, it made it all made sense because it
Yeah, yeah.
really was too. It was like calm. It was interesting.
Mhm.
It, it was amazing. But
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, compared to your other one, because I think there was another one next to it that was like bright. That had like
Hmm.
yellow and stuff like that, which
Right.
was still good. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
think I
definitely.
gravitated towards that other one.
For sure.
Looking back, do you know like what kind of struggles that you faced then that you kind of now see that was like necessary for part of your journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think confidence was something that I always struggled with 100%, kind of imposter syndrome too. But definitely confidence. I feel like it was really hard for me at first to get my work out there and be okay with it being out there and for people to have opinions about it. Because it's great when people love your work. But then when people don't like your work or they have something different to say about it, I feel like that's where it's gets a little weird sometimes. I'm used to it now. But
Hmm.
beforehand, I had a really hard time with that. And I think also, too, I had to deal with the fact that it's okay to not make work that's great all the time, which at first I struggled with a lot. I was like, I would be in my studio and I'd be freaking out and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this painting that I'm about to post on Instagram or like this painting that I'm about to have in this show, it has to be the best I've ever made. And I put myself in a really negative headspace when I used to do that because it's okay to not have things that are great. Like, I think it's really important especially as an artist, to be able to make things that don't look good because that helps your journey when you're creating new stuff too.
Yep. You get caught in that perfection, and then
Exactly. Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to post it because you think it's not perfect, but then you
Right.
want to wait
Right.
for the perfect moment that just never comes, and then you're sitting on stuff. And so,
Definitely.
can you share like any stories of a time where maybe you were nervous about putting something out and you didn't?
Honestly, that connects back to my solo show. I was freaking out about that. That was the first time outside of being in the school environment where I was putting myself 100% out there for people that I didn't know, and then also people that I worked with, and then people that I went to school with. So it was really overwhelming because I was like, I spent so many months working on these paintings, and then what if people don't go look at it? What if people walk in and they're like, this is not great? Like, why did I even come to this thing? I was freaking out about that because it was just a lot of pressure, like, especially when you're doing a solo show, meaning it's just your art and your story. I think it's definitely, you feel odd about it because it's almost like you're letting people in, and I don't like doing that. So that
Mm.
definitely was difficult for me.
And what was it that kind of made you conquer that fear?
That's a good question. I think that I had to think about the bright side of things. Like, you worked so hard in your studio, you put all this time and energy, money, effort, mental, you know, health was all over the place when you're working through. And I felt like I just had to be proud of myself. Like I had to just sit by myself, look at the wall for a little bit, just me and the work, and be like, you know what? You did what you had to do, and be proud of yourself because I'm really proud of myself for where I started to where I'm at now. So,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I love that. And speaking like on that topic, because art is subjective, right? And
Mhm.
as artists, we're sensitive about our shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do you kind of handle those fears of putting something that's deeply personal into the world like that?
Yeah, I think that it kind of comes and goes in waves, but I think that sometimes, no matter what, you would just have to continue doing it. I think it's kind of like performance anxiety. Like you just have to continue pushing yourself out there. There's not really like a right or wrong way to do it, but I think that surrounding yourself with people that support you, being supportive of yourself and not being negative. I think that's definitely like the best way to go about it. But then also, I think the biggest thing is surrounding yourself around people that support you so you can talk to them about, like what's going on. Because I feel like if you're alone in the art world, it's really lonely. Being alone, no matter what, is lonely, I think.
Hmm.
But I think just being able to like talk to people about these things, because a lot of people feel the same way. You just wouldn't
Yep.
assume that all the time. So that's
Yep.
definitely how I would go about it.
Yep. Yep. That's so true. And that's actually one of the like core reasons why I started, this podcast too,
Yeah,
is because I wanted to really show that artists and creatives and stuff like that, we all go through the same things. And,
right.
sometimes people may feel like they're alone or they might be dealing with something alone, but it's like we all feel this way. Like not too many people talk about it, but
Exactly.
we go through it. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us and letting everybody know that, we all go through it. Even,
For
some of the
sure.
best of the artists go through these
Exactly. Yeah.
things. So
Oh, yeah.
milk teeth.
Yes.
So I found out about it for the first time at your art show,
Yeah,
what it is and what it means. But can you kind of share with people that may not know what that is and what it's all about?
for sure. So, milk teeth are baby teeth. We are usually with them when we're very little and we start to lose them as you grow up. Unfortunately for me, I still had two baby teeth with me all the way up until last year. So I just was born, and a lot of people are. I just didn't know. I thought it was just like this weird person that had baby teeth still, but a lot of people have baby teeth still, even up until like old age, like super old age. But I still had baby teeth, and they did not have adult teeth above them. So they just never grew out. They just stayed in place. And I had not shed them yet. So I had to get them removed, and I have like implants now, and it was a whole process. So I was dealing with all of that while also making my paintings. But I was like, how good of an idea would it be if I were to relate losing my baby teeth, losing my old self to my paintings that I am creating now as a artist, but also kind of growing into like being an adult, like I officially don't have baby teeth anymore. I'm not saying that because I had my baby teeth, I wasn't an adult, but also meaning to say that I was just kind of like shedding the old parts of me. And I felt like with these new paintings that I was creating for this solo show, it was a new part of me.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to connect all of that together too.
Yo, that's deep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
It's weird
deep.
talking about it, but I appreciate that question because I feel like at the show, I got to talk to people a little bit about it, but I didn't really get to sit with myself and be like, those teeth were with me for so long. They went through so much, and then I lost them, and then I lost them during this period of making these paintings, and they were new paintings, but my baby teeth were gone. So it was like this just kind of weird like timeline of events that was going on. And I had also during that time have lost my childhood dog. So I
Mm,
feel like that was just like there was just so many things going on, like they were dying, and then I'm losing my baby teeth, and then I'm also like feeling very, very much like an adult. Like I was going through adult feelings, if that makes sense. So
yeah, growing up, that's wow, that's deep. That's deep, but that's also so dope that you can name it that and like it has that deep of a meaning because it's like you say, like you're shedding an old life and
right.
becoming, the new version of you,
Hmm.
like the more mature adult version of you now.
For
So,
sure.
and I think that fits in perfectly with you being an instructor now too. It's kind of like, you went from the student, so
Right.
now you're a teacher. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So
For sure.
that it kind of all fits in together. That's like perfectly, really.
Yeah.
Speaking of being an instructor at
Yeah.
NIU, which I think is super dope. Like I said, I think that's
Thank you.
super dope that you took this art that you love and in a way you're giving back to it,
Hmm.
inspiring the youth and educating the youth and all that type of stuff, right?
For sure.
And can you kind of share about like how exactly that opportunity came up? Because I know you said
Yeah.
your teacher before kind of pushed you to do it, but like how did the opportunity come up?
For sure. So in grad school, they let you be a teacher, basically like a TA, a teaching assistant, if you'd like. So I
Yeah.
had been teaching throughout grad school. And my last semester, right before I was about to graduate, my mentor, he was like, "Hey, do you want to stay for next semester for the fall? Do you want to teach here?" He was like, "I can't guarantee how many classes you'll be able to teach or whatever the case may be, but he's like, we would like you to stay." And I almost like fell to the ground. I was so excited. But I was like, yeah, I'll stay. Like, are you kidding me? And it's so awesome now because now I get to work alongside of him, but then also other mentors that I had throughout grad school and undergrad. So it's a really cool experience. But it's also awesome too because they kind of watched me grow up throughout undergrad and grad school. And then now I get to work alongside of people that I care about so much and that helped me throughout my journey.
Yeah.
And I also looked up to how they taught, and how they were mentors for several students, not just me. So I carry that very deeply throughout my practice as a teacher too.
And how long have you been doing it? Like how long have you been
That's a
an
good question.
instructor?
So I have been a instructor separated from undergrad around like 4 years.
4 years. Oh, okay.
Or not undergrad, sorry, grad school.
Yeah, yeah. So would you say like you've kind of um like I guess established your kind of teaching style?
I think so. I think that I'm officially comfortable and confident in my teaching style and approach. But I do think that there's always room for improvement. And that's why I absolutely love, I mean, it's kind of nerve wracking too, but they do evaluations every semester. So it's nice to get feedback. But then also, too, I will have one on one meetings with, depending on the class I'll have with my students, and I'll ask them like, "Hey, in terms of teaching, like, am I doing everything I can to help and support you, or like, what things could I improve on, or what things that should I change, or whatever the case may be?" And sometimes I'll take it into account for the next semester, and sometimes I'll just change it right on the spot if it's something very specific.
Mm.
But for the most part, it's been okay so far. So yeah.
What would you say like if you had to describe kind of like your teaching style? Are you more like a lead by example, or you kind of just let them kind of figure it out when you watch and give pointers, or
I think a mix of both. I love to give demos and then have them go work on something and then me come back around and see how they're doing. But I love giving a lot of work time, studio time per se. So depending on the class, like I will give out a homework assignment or just like a random assignment that I want them to do in class or outside of class. I show them how to do it first because sometimes too, if students are handed something or you just talk about something and then they have to do it, maybe they're just like well, what do I do or how do I start? But sometimes too, like in those watercolor classes that I've been teaching, sometimes I'll do demos and sometimes I more will just talk about the project and then one on one talk to students about what they should do or what things that they could act on. But it really just depends on the class. But I think I'm definitely a good mix of both.
I say I might take one of your classes because I can't even draw a stick figure.
No. Yeah.
Like,
So definitely. I mean, I feel like a lot of people say that, but sometimes you guys end up being like some of the best artists, like drawers. So you should definitely take some art classes because I feel like you would like it because you're creative. So,
yeah, that's true. We'll see. At the creative or the drawing really went to my younger sister. She's an amazing artist. But the thing is, like, she doesn't really do it a lot. She hasn't done it in a while. She
okay.
gets caught up in like, you know, nursing and stuff like that, which is all
Right.
good. But man, yeah, she's crazy talented artist, and she has been since we were little. Like, I remember, you remember how we were little in like art class, and they would have like little art shows and
Oh my gosh.
stuff like
Yes. Those
that.
are the best.
Yeah, she would always win those like every
Oh,
year. It
I
was
love
crazy.
that.
Yeah, so we would have them like hanging up on like the fridge. She's the artist of the family. I would say I'm
So are you,
more,
though. So are you.
yeah,
But just different art
different.
styles. But
Nah, facts.
yeah.
Because I'm more of like in my head, like visual. You know what I mean? She's like
Right.
more, which is it's
Physical.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could draw though. I think if I could, if someone asked me like what talent do I wish I could have, like I think it would be to draw because it's just art. Like seeing paintings, drawings, and stuff like that has always been like super interesting to me,
Yeah.
and I've always like been a little bit jealous. Like, damn, wish I could do
You
that.
know, sometimes too, I feel like, no, I get you on that because I feel like sometimes I can come up with an abstract sketch or drawing really quickly. But then when I see somebody, like especially my students, I will give them like a still life or just like a random project. And I have like really strong drawers sometimes where it takes them like less than 20 minutes to do like this insane, beautiful, like large still life that has like value and all these amazing tones and textures and all these things. And I'm like, how did you do that? Because I feel like if I were to like it's sometimes too, I will draw with them when they're drawing something. And I'm like, how are you already done with your project? And it looks like amazing. And then I'm over here like struggling to like get the circle to actually look like a circle. So
Yeah, I think you got it though. For real,
yeah, well,
I
thank
think
you.
you
I
got it.
appreciate it.
Can you kind of walk us through like your creative process while you're making these paintings? Like,
Yeah.
you more like, you know, listen to music or
For sure. So I think first things first, it goes back to what I have. So I at school and sometimes just when I'm out and about, I have like this really large canvas tote bag, and I call it my Mary Poppins bag of utensils and supplies. If you look in that bag, I have paintbrushes, rulers, scissors, glue sticks, tape, colored pencils, gouache, watercolor, acrylic paint, old paintbrushes, new paintbrushes, pencils, pens, you name it. I have it in there. Like sometimes my students will look or asking for something and I'm like, yeah, I have it. It's in my bag. And then I have random pieces of paper, notebook pads, sketchbooks, whatever I can have in there. And whenever I have the chance, I will take out anything I can and just doodle, sketch, do random things. With all of those supplies. And once I have some of those sketches with me, what I will do is I will take them to my studio and I will examine them. And then I will use those sketches to create a painting. And sometimes they will kind of look like the sketch and sometimes not, but it really helps my creative process kind of get ready to go. But if it wasn't for all that stuff carrying around, I feel like I would just like be tapping my fingers, you know, ADHD time, like just like not being able to focus.
yeah.
But when I have all of my sketchbook materials, like I'm unstoppable. And I love that because just having like an array of utensils for me to draw or sketch or anything is perfect for my creative process. But then once I'm in my studio, I have the sketches all laid out. I have my music going and I'm mixing my colors up and I'm getting ready to go. And I feel like that's definitely like the way that I start my art.
What kind of music are you listening to?
So my music taste is all over the place. It really depends on my mood, but I'm really into indie music. I absolutely love rock. I will sometimes kind of get into like sad music too. Like I kind of like get it myself like in the space of kind of being in a mood. I feel
Yeah.
like I make better art when I'm emotional.
Same.
And not like
Same.
crying, you know, like I'm not like tearing up like
Yeah.
depressed in my studio, but I like to give myself that type of feeling because I feel like if I'm like super happy and like excited about life, I'm not really making great work. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds terrible to say, but I'm also just naturally kind of like a, not a sad person, but I'm more naturally kind of like a mellow, like,
Yeah.
like I'm stuck in like nostalgia, like world, So
Yeah.
I think that kind of helps my process in making good work too.
That's funny because I think I'm the same way. Like if I'm like when I'm editing and stuff like that, I'll listen to a lot of like that music.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's like you said, I think it just really makes you think. You know what I
It
mean?
does.
Like
It
you start
does.
thinking about experiences, start thinking
Right.
about like it puts you in like certain emotions and stuff like that, and it, all that comes out, during for your art.
Hmm. For sure.
How do you know like when a painting is done, especially with abstract art? Like
Ah,
there's so much going on.
that's a really good question. I have so many people every semester ask me that, and I feel like I give them not the greatest answer. But for me, it's definitely when I've been working on a painting for a while and I'm starting to get to a point that I feel like I'm overworking it. So I'll start adding more lines or I'll add another color. And I'm like, man, it's not really going anywhere else but where it was 2 sessions ago
Mm.
or whatever the case may be. So I feel like when I'm able to step back, look at it, and I'm like, if I add one more mark or if I add one more color, it's going to be overworked. And I don't think that I should do that. But I feel like with abstract too, and then there's sometimes two people that will say, a painting's never finished, which, okay, could be true, sure, in some aspects. But I feel like at the same time too, with abstract work, you can get away with leaving it and being okay with it, or maybe adding to it again if you want to ever jump into it again.
Yeah.
So it depends, but I feel like when I feel like I'm about to overwork it, meaning that like I'm getting to a spot where it has enough details that doesn't need more details, I feel like I'll be good to go, and I feel like that's the best way for me to know. Yeah.
And how do you decide like the colors that you use?
That's a good question. And it's chaos central in my studio. If you were like to go in there, I have paint tubes all over the place. Sometimes when I'm in the art store and I'm picking up oil paints, I'm not even looking at like the names of them. I'm just kind of grabbing the ones that I like. But I try to have a ton of options. And I feel like sometimes a lot of options for people is not good because they're overwhelmed. But for me and my brain, I absolutely love choices because I'm quick with choices. So, depending on the painting, I try to give it a title before I start working on it. So, sometimes if the title is something personal or it's something that I really want to just kind of bring forward in the painting, I'll try to pick colors that I associate with that title. Or let's say that I'm making a painting about a conversation or something I saw, I will try to relate the colors back to that, whether it's what the people were wearing or whether it's how the room looked or the things that were in the room or
Mm.
what people were wearing, etc. So I try to kind of think about that a little bit. But when it comes to like having a straight up color palette, I don't have that.
That's crazy. That's funny to hear you say that you picked a name before you actually do the drawing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because I know, like for me, for writing, like, and I think it just might be because I'm horrible with names. Like,
Yeah.
if you ask
Okay.
me to name something, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to
Right.
give me
Right.
a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, cause I'll write something, right? Like a
Yeah.
script or film or whatever, and I just can't come up with a name. Like I'll just be bouncing ideas. It takes me forever to come up with these names. So
It's hard sometimes. I feel like also with writing, especially, I'm sure of it, like, you're saying a lot, but
yeah,
then at the same time, you want it to be cohesive. And I feel like I've had this issue too where I'll name a painting and then I'm working on it and I'm like, man, that does not feel like the title or like it doesn't connect very well. And
yeah.
I'll end up changing it a little bit, but still keeping like the same thought process behind it. But yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard, but I like doing it just because it keeps me in like the segment of what I'm trying to discuss in this painting.
Anyway, yeah, that's smart. I feel like we kind of have like similar creative like processes, but
Yeah.
like a little different.
Hmm.
Cause I when it comes to writing, especially like a lot of times I don't really try to put myself in a box. I think that's why another reason why I don't like name anything.
No, for sure.
And maybe I should start trying to do it like that. Okay,
You should. Maybe they'll
I should. I'm
switch
gonna try
something
it that
up.
way.
Why not?
No, for real, because I don't know. These like because with writers you get writer's block. Do you ever get that with
Mm.
like art
With
or
painting? Yeah.
yeah?
Yes, I do. I feel like when school starts to get super busy and I teach a decent amount of classes, I start to focus a little bit more on my teaching in terms of like grading and just being in the classroom and prepping and all this stuff. And then
Mm,
I'll try to go to my studio and I'm like, I'm not in the good headspace for this. Like I'm thinking about grading or I'm thinking about like something that I need to go do at school or I need to go set up a still life tomorrow or like there's like all these things going on.
hmm.
And then I'll stop painting. But I try not to force myself to paint because I've done that before and man, I've like it's terrible. Like the paintings just are if they're not good, they're not great. So um I have that happen a lot of times, but in those moments I at least try to just sketch, even if it's like nothing serious, like even if it's just like something random that I see or whatever the case may be, just so I can keep like, like the process going, but maybe not
Mm.
necessarily making anything solid.
Yeah. Are you one of those people who kind of have like maybe like a sketchbook next to him all the time and just like constantly doodling and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I'm I don't know. That's a real I used to have a sketchbook all the time. Like, I would have a sketchbook present with me at all times and I would even maybe not sketch but I would write in it like, oh, I have to go to a doctor tomorrow or I have to go pick up this or I need to remember something.
mm,
um but I've been very into having loose sheets of paper with me and then I'll sketch on those, so it's technically like a sketchbook, it's just not like bound to anything.
yeah,
But loose pieces of paper I always carry in my bag, sometimes I'll have them in my purse, but if I'm like going out shopping I'm not going to sketch. But if I'm at school and I'm like teaching, right, I'm not teaching the whole time because a lot of the times they're work days. So meaning that the students are painting the whole time on their own, they're working on their own projects or they're drawing or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
Then I will have my sketchbook with me, or just I will find like loose pieces of paper in the art building. Sometimes people will leave like copies behind of something that they didn't want, or sometimes I'll like dig in the recycling bin for random scraps, or sometimes I'll find like random scraps at tables that I know people were not going to use for anything, and I'll just doodle on that.
really.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, that's dedication right there.
I know. And
That's for the
sometimes
love of
too,
the game.
yeah, the thing that sucks the most is, especially being an artist and then also being a teacher, is that I want to so badly like sit next to them and just work with them. Like sometimes I like don't even like I know that I'm in charge and I need to get, the teaching aspect out of the way sometimes, but I so badly just like want to work with them sometimes and I do. Like sometimes if it's a really long drawing period, I will sit next to them and just draw for a little bit just so I can get it out of my system, or else I'm like driving myself crazy all
Yeah.
day. But the other day, which it was fine, but I was in a lab talking to some friends and they had a student in there working and she was working on the final project, I think. And she had this beautiful like case of these pastel like sticks that you can draw with. And it was beautiful. And I think it was new.
Mm.
And it was like tons of colors. And I was talking to my friends and I was paying attention to my friends, but I was watching her use them and I was like itching, like not actually itching, but I was like, oh God, like I really want to try those.
Yeah.
And I went and I grabbed a piece of paper and I like went up to her and I was like, hey, can I like use some of your pastels? Like, can I try them out? And she was like, oh yeah, go for it. Like you can. And I was so happy. Like I was in there drawing for a little bit. But
Yeah.
that was like a moment of bliss for me. I absolutely like I'm really like my art materials to me is like people that are obsessed with like eating desserts or um like have an addiction. It's basically like an addiction, right? But
Yeah.
or I don't know, but it's just everything to me. Materials
Love
are
it.
just everything to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Love it. So how can you balance like your art life with, with your responsibilities with being an instructor?
That's a good question. So, with me teaching at the university, a lot of professors they have different schedules, so we don't all work from Monday through Friday.
Mm,
My schedule, I am booked for classes for 2 days a week. So I will teach from 8 a.m. all the way down to 8:45 p.m. Four classes. So one class is from 8 to 10:45, one class is from 11 to 1:45, another class is from 2 to 4:45, and then my last class is my night class, which is from 6 to 8:45. So that's Tuesdays, Thursdays sometimes, or sometimes depending on the semester, it's Mondays and Wednesdays. So I have Fridays off, and then I will have either Monday and Wednesday off or Tuesday and Thursday off, and then plus the weekend. So how I balance that is that I will teach on the days that I am scheduled to teach, and then I have a studio that's provided by NIU, So on the days that I do not teach, I will try to go to my studio and work,
Mm.
balance everything like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
Because it sounds like, I mean, obviously, I know you obviously love art, but it's like to be itching when you see someone like with a paintbrush or something like that. You know
right.
what I mean? It's like, yeah,
It's
that's
difficult. It's
yeah.
difficult to retain to contain myself. But at the same time too, I've gotten so used to just like, and my students get used to me doing it too, but I will when they're working and they're having like heavy work time, meaning that they just come into the classroom and they work on their project, and I will like talk to them for a little bit about their project. And
Hmm.
the classes are pretty long. They're almost 3 hours long. So, and they're all studio classes that are almost 3 hours long. They're not completely 3 hours, but usually when they're working, that's when I'm able to also just like doodle or whatever the case may be. And then I'll get up and talk to them, and then I'll go sit back down. But usually when we have like serious things going on in terms of like critiques or presentations, or I have to demo something, obviously I'm not doodling, but that's definitely why I love my job so much, because I'm able to be creative even when I'm teaching. So,
What kind of advice would you share for like maybe new artists, or even advice that you share with your students
yeah.
who are looking to, start their artistic journey?
I think I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's like the biggest thing. It's
Hmm.
really important to get yourself out there, go to galleries, go make connections, talk to your classmates or your friends that are artists. Get out there and just go look at the world, go to museums, go to whatever you can get your hands on. I feel like that's the best way to learn and grow. That helped me out a ton. So I feel like that will definitely help anybody, no matter what type of artist or what path you're going in the art world. And I think that's definitely like the best way to go about it, in my opinion, for
Yeah.
any artist that's starting out, especially.
I know, like me, you're someone who's very introverted.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe going out is like difficult. Like, what advice would you say for people who are maybe scared or intimidated
Yeah.
to?
That's a good question. I feel like for me it's helped to take a friend that you're comfortable with, or
Hmm.
take a significant other, or whatever the case may be, or go meet up with somebody somewhere. Because I feel like if you do it alone, which could be good sometimes because obviously you need to get comfortable with also doing things alone, but I think that it gives you a little bit more confidence to at least have somebody to talk to if you don't necessarily right away want to go talk to people that you don't know. But then also I think too, it's just to be like interested, like care um, about whatever you're looking at. And I feel like people will notice that you're being authentic about that. And no
Hmm.
matter where you're at, you'll be able to spark up a conversation with somebody.
Do you have any like artists that you kind of look up to?
Yeah. So I absolutely love Georgia O'Keeffe.
Uh,
I don't know if you know Georgia O'Keeffe, but she's a really great painter. I absolutely love Frida Kahlo's work too.
oh yeah, yeah, I
Um,
know that is.
yeah, and I think that I'm really like her backstory and how she related her art back to it. I don't feel like I 100% connect to her work necessarily, but I think that as an artist, she was a really strong, powerful woman in the industry at the time, where there was kind of a lot of male artists, out there, and there wasn't really like a ton of advertisement to go look and support women artists. So I think that she was really badass. But I absolutely also really like Mark Rothko. He unfortunately passed, and I mean, some of these have already passed already too, but Mark Rothko was a really good painter. I really loved his color and how he used color. Kandinsky's another one. A lot of people, I mean, it depends on the person, but I kind of like Pablo Picasso. And I remember when I was younger and we would do field trips to the art museum, and I would go look at his work, and I just thought it was so interesting how his shapes like disconnected and connected from each other. It was super
Mhm.
weird. Judy Chicago is also another good one. I could go on and on, but those are
Yeah.
definitely like some of the ones that I really looked up to, especially growing up too.
So, Marisol, can you tell us what's next? Like any art shows coming up? Are you
Yes.
gonna be dropping any art? Okay.
Yeah, I have them written down here so I can say it. But okay, so right now there's a faculty show up at Fine Line Art Center in St. Charles. And I also teach at Fine Line Art Center at St. Charles. So basically, I teach abstract painting there. I mean, I
Mm.
teach it once a week. So I've been teaching there for about 3 years. So I do it usually in the summertime, but sometimes if I have some free time in the fall and the spring semesters that I'm teaching at NIU, I'll also teach there. So right now there's a faculty show up. And then I was published in 2 magazines. So I Like Your Work
Oh,
podcast. Yeah, super exciting. I was super excited about that. And then the
congrats.
Visionary, thank you. The Visionary Collective, and that issue comes out in June. And then I have a mini art gallery solo show at Oak Park Art Center. And that place, and that person, Elaine Luther, that set up that show. So she makes these really tiny art galleries, and you put little pieces of whatever you're making in there. So it's basically like you're making tiny art for that space. It's like just like a miniature gallery. And it's really cool. I'll have to send you pictures. I'll send you pictures. But she had a bunch of artists do their own like mini solo show.
Okay.
And then I have a show, a 2-person exhibition show with Noah Wandry, and that's at the Fargo in DeKalb. And then I have a Freeport art, I'm busy, Freeport art show. I have a group exhibition in October, and then I will be possibly be prepping for a solo show, but I'm not completely 100% sure on the dates, but I will also keep you updated on that.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to show up and support.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely busy, but I like keeping myself busy. I feel like it helps as an artist. Not always though, because it's stressful.
Man.
But I do think that when you have a ton of work, in your studio and you're pumping out a bunch of stuff, it's nice to just kind of get it out there, out into the world for a little bit, just so it doesn't collect dust in my studio. I feel like I talked a lot about that, about how I have so much work in my studio, but it's just like sitting there. So it's really important to
Yeah.
get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Get it out there. I can't wait to see it.
For sure.
And the world can't wait to see it. I know it's
Yeah, thank you.
amazing. Do you have anything new for any of those?
Yes, I do. I have started some bigger paintings again. So I'm going back to 48 by 60. I was doing some small works for a little bit. I taught 2 watercolor classes this semester. So I was doing a lot of watercolor stuff. But now that I'm back in my studio a lot more since school is officially over for the semester, I've been getting back into oil painting. So I'm painting large again. So 48 by 60. I'm going to pump out a couple different types of paintings there and see what happens. But I just started a big one. I'll probably finish it up by this week, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then I'm just going to continue making a bunch of big pieces and see what happens.
Do you prefer those bigger pieces?
Honestly, yes. I hate saying it because they give me such a hard time. They're just like so annoying. They're so big, and I love big paintings, but also at the same time, transporting them is so freaking annoying. They fit in my car barely, but I've had to rent so many U-Hauls to like get the pieces to different areas sometimes. But I do prefer painting large because it gives me a lot of open space to investigate, and carve out all these like random details that I'm doing. And I feel like when I'm working on small things, they're fun to work on, but they don't give me like the satisfaction that I get with big paintings.
Yeah, I can see that. Because I was gonna say, it seems like you really like these bigger paintings.
Yeah, I did. I had a lot of fun making them. They did give me struggles sometimes. I won't lie and say that it was great every single time I was in the studio, but it was something really fun to do. I did a big one for my grad solo show, but it wasn't as large and in charge as these newer ones that I made. So it was definitely a fun experience. I'll definitely want to continue doing it.
And I can't wait to see what you present. All right, Marisol, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
on and sharing your story. This was a really good episode. This was wonderful to hear your story because I said we've known each other for damn near forever.
Right. Yeah.
But it's really good to hear more insight on your creative journey. So
For sure.
thank you for coming in again,
Yeah,
doing
thank you
this.
for having me. I appreciate it. It's super exciting. It's my first
Sure.
podcast, so I'm super excited about it.
It's your first one?
Yes, my first one.
Whew.
Yeah,
Okay, it's mine
first
too.
one.
So
Yay!
yeah,
We're in
right.
it together.
We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this out. Thank you, Marisol, for coming in.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Spark Moment podcast. If this episode inspired you, make sure to follow the show so you don't miss a single spark. I'd love to hear what your spark moment was. You can share it with me on Instagram at the Spark Moment Podcast, or tag the show in your stories. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, please leave a rating and review. It really helps more people discover these stories. Until next time, keep chasing that spark.